They are in a meeting. Someone is talking. The words are arriving in the correct order, and the meaning is technically registering. And if you ask them to summarize the last 2 minutes, they could probably manage it. But underneath the surface of that functional attention, running parallel to the professional version of themselves, sitting in the chair with the correct expression on their face, something else is happening. They are on the bike. Not in a fantasy exactly, not in the escapist sense of someone who checks out completely and goes somewhere pleasant in their mind. Something more specific than that. They are planning, calculating, running a route they have run before or a route they have not run yet, but have looked at enough times on a map that the turns are already memorized. They are feeling in the specific physical way that the body remembers things it has done enough times, the weight of the machine beneath them, the particular resistance of the throttle at the first quarter turn, the way the front end lightens slightly coming off a certain corner onto a certain straight, the temperature of the air at that elevation at this time of year. Nobody in the meeting knows this is happening. Nobody in the meeting would understand it if they were told. The meeting ends. The day continues. There are other things that require attention, and most of them receive it adequately, and some of them receive it well. But underneath all of it, constant, low, reliable as a heartbeat, the thinking about the next ride does not stop. It does not stop at dinner. It does not stop in conversation. It does not stop when something genuinely good is happening in the other parts of their life, which are not small parts, which contain real things and real people and real value. It runs underneath all of it, quietly, persistently, like a program that was opened a long time ago and has never been fully closed. This is not obsession in the clinical sense. This is not a dysfunction. This is something far more interesting than either of those explanations, and far more revealing about what a human mind does when it has found the one future it actually believes in. Start with what the thinking actually is, because most people who observe it from the outside misread it completely. When a rider cannot stop thinking about the next ride, they are not daydreaming. Daydreaming is passive. It is the mind drifting toward pleasant images in the absence of sufficient engagement. What writers do is something categorically different. It is active, it is detailed, it is technical in a way that requires genuine cognitive investment and produces something closer to planning than to fantasy. They are selecting gear based on forecast temperatures. They are identifying the specific section of a route where last time the surface was unpredictable and deciding how they will approach it differently. They are working through a mechanical issue they noticed on the last ride, not urgently, not with anxiety, but with the steady, focused attention of someone who takes seriously the machine they trust with their body. They are remembering a corner they did not get quite right and running the corrected version in their mind with the precise adjustments that would make it clean. This is not escape. This is preparation. And preparation for something that genuinely matters is one of the most cognitively engaging states a human mind can occupy. Here is why this matters psychologically. The human brain has a well-documented tendency to spend its unoccupied time in one of two places: the past, replaying and reprocessing events that already happened and cannot be changed, or an abstract, anxious future, projecting worst-case scenarios onto things that may or may not happen in ways that cannot be controlled. This is the default mode network, the background hum of the mind when it is not given something specific to do. And for most people, that background hum is not pleasant. It is a low-grade ambient unease that modern life provides almost no relief from, because modern life has eliminated most of the absorbing physical challenges that used to occupy the default mode network with something more useful than worry. The rider thinking about the next ride has done something to their default mode network that most people never manage. They have given it somewhere to go, not a worry, not a replay, a concrete, detailed, physically grounded future event that the mind can actually inhabit. That has texture and temperature and a specific sequence of decisions and outcomes that the body knows in the specific physical way that bodies know things they have done many times. The mind does not drift when it is thinking about the next ride. It arrives. It is somewhere specific and it is doing something specific and it is doing it with the full investment of attention that only genuine engagement produces. This is why riders who cannot stop thinking about the next ride often report that they are calmer than people around them, more patient, more able to absorb difficulty without being destabilized by it. Not because they are naturally more equanimous, because they have a reliable internal destination that the mind can return to when the surface of daily life becomes too loud or too heavy or too full of things that cannot be resolved by any amount of attention. The next ride is always there, waiting, specific, known in the body, available whenever the mind needs somewhere real to go. Now go deeper, because the planning is only the surface behavior. Underneath the planning, something more fundamental is operating. There's a concept in psychology called future self-continuity, the degree to which a person experiences a clear and felt connection to the person they will be in the future. Research consistently shows that people with high future self-continuity make better long-term decisions, tolerate present difficulty more effectively, and report significantly higher levels of meaning and purpose in daily life. They are not just living in the present moment. They are living in a present that is connected to a future they can actually feel, not just intellectually acknowledge. Most people have a weaker relationship with their future self than they realize. The person they will be in 10 years feels more like a stranger than like themselves. Abstract, distant, theoretical. And this distance has consequences. It makes the future feel less real than the present, less worth investing in, less capable of holding the weight of hope. But the rider thinking about the next ride does not have this problem. Their future self is not abstract. Their future self is on a specific road at a specific time of day on a specific machine, doing something they have done before and will do again, and that they know in their body with a certainty that no amount of abstraction can produce. The next ride is not the distant future. It is the near future. It is tomorrow morning or Saturday or the first dry day after the rain, and it is already present in the mind in the fullest possible sense. The rider can feel it, not metaphorically. In the physical memory of the body that has done this enough times to have encoded it below the level of conscious thought. This is what makes the thinking so persistent. It is not obsession, it is the mind maintaining its connection to the most real and most fully inhabited version of the future available to it. The mind is not running away from the present into the next ride. The mind is using the next ride to make the present bearable, to give the difficult meeting and the difficult conversation and the difficult part of the day a specific endpoint that is not just the absence of difficulty, but the presence of something genuinely worth arriving at. The next ride is not a reward the rider is promising themselves. It is the proof that the future is real, that it is coming, that it contains something specific and known and fully theirs that no circumstance in the present can cancel. Here is the layer that most people who think about riders never examine, and it is the most revealing one. Ask a rider what they think about when they think about the next ride, and they will describe the route, the conditions, The machine, the technical details of what they are planning and why, they will stay in that register for a while because it is accurate and because it is the level of the question they were asked, but stay with it. Stay with the question past the technical answer. Ask what it feels like to think about it. Ask what the thinking gives them that other thinking does not give them, and something different emerges. They will pause. The same pause that happens when you ask them to describe what writing feels like. The pause of someone translating from a language without words. And what comes through in that pause and eventually in whatever imprecise language they find for it is something that has very little to do with motorcycles. It is the only future they actually look forward to, not the only good thing in their life. There are other good things, real things, people and relationships and work and moments of genuine pleasure and meaning that are not on a motorcycle. The acknowledgement of this is important because it is true. But there is a difference between a future that is good and a future that is looked forward to. A future that is good is assessed, evaluated, appreciated with the part of the mind that keeps accounts. A future that is looked forward to is felt in the body, in the specific physical anticipation that arrives when something genuinely wanted is genuinely coming. Most writers, if they are honest, if they sit with the question past the polite answer, will tell you that the ratio of futures they are looking forward to versus futures that are simply good is not what they would like it to be. That the calendar is full of things that are fine, appropriate, sometimes genuinely valuable, but that the things on the calendar that produce the specific physical sensation of actual anticipation, the sensation of a future being pulled toward the present by the force of genuine wanting, those things are fewer than they should be. The next ride is almost always on that shorter list, and this is where the psychology becomes most important to understand. Because a person whose only genuinely anticipated future is a recurring event on weekends or on dry mornings, or whenever the circumstances of their life allow them to get on the bike, that person is not suffering from an obsession with motorcycles. They are suffering from a shortage of futures worth looking forward to. The bike did not create that shortage. The bike revealed it. And then, in the specific generous way that things which actually work tend to do, it partially filled it, gave the mind somewhere to go when the other futures on the calendar, the meeting and the obligation and the commitment and the thing that needs to be handled, did not offer the specific quality of felt anticipation that the human mind needs in order to function with something more than adequacy. There is a specific kind of person this description fits most precisely, and they are not who most people would assume. They are not the young writer with nothing to lose and nowhere in particular to be. They are not the reckless one. They are the one in the middle of a life. The one with the job and the family and the mortgage and the calendar full of things that matter and require them and depend on their presence and their competence and their consistent showing up. The one whose life, measured by almost any external standard, is working, and who has discovered somewhere in the accumulation of a working life that working and wanting are not the same thing, that a life can be full and still be missing something that does not have an obvious name. Something that is not gratitude's opposite, and is not unhappiness, and is not ingratitude toward the genuinely good things that the working life contains. It is the specific absence of a future that the body is already leaning toward. The next ride fills that specific absence, not permanently, not in a way that removes the need for it to be replenished, but reliably, every time, with a consistency that almost nothing else in the working life provides. The meeting might go badly, the obligation might be harder than expected, the commitment might cost more than budgeted, but the next ride will be the next ride. The road will be there. The machine will respond. The version of themselves that exists only in motion, only in the specific full system engagement of a body and a machine and a road, will arrive exactly as it always arrives. Without fail, without negotiation, without requiring anything except their presence. This is what the thinking is actually about. When a rider cannot stop thinking about the next ride, they are not failing to be present in their life. They are maintaining a connection to the one part of their future that is completely, reliably, undeniably real to them. Not real in the sense of certain. Rides get canceled. Weather changes. Life intervenes in the specific, unpredictable ways that life intervenes, but real in the sense of felt, inhabited, known in the body in advance, the kind of real that most of the future is not, the kind of real that most people spend years trying to find in various forms, and most never locate with this consistency, or this reliability, or this immediate physical certainty. The writer sitting in the meeting is not absent from their life. They are carrying, underneath everything that the day requires of them, the one thing that makes the carrying possible. The knowledge that the next ride is coming, that it is specific, that it is theirs, that it is already real in the only way that actually matters, in the body, before it happens. That is not obsession. That is the only kind of hope that has never let them down.